and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence,
This is Mark Florence.
and today we're talking about Halloween 3. So, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, came out in 1982. It's the third movie in the Halloween series, but of course, it's the only one that doesn't feature Michael Myers. It was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. It had a budget of $2.5 million, and it made $14 million at the box office. Now, the thought process going into this movie and creating it was, okay, Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, their storyline is done. So let's create sort of an anthology series of multiple storylines taking place on Halloween, and this can be one of them. So some articles that have come out recently about Halloween 3 are that everyone hated the movie when it came out because there's no Michael Myers, but in retrospect, it's become a cult classic. How do you feel? I mean, you were the one defending this movie a few days ago, a couple weeks ago, and now on your rewatch, what do you think?
You know, I really was underwhelmed by the movie. I liked the themes of the evil corporation and the big plot to kill everybody, but I don't know. There's kind of cheesy doctor guy. I don't know. A lot of the special effects were bad, and I don't know. It didn't hold up for me.
So, this actor who plays the doctor, he was in something we watched recently, Nightbreed.
Night of the Creeps.
Oh, that's what it was.
Actually, Night of the Creeps. Yeah, he's a great character, great mustache. I thought he's a little better in Night of the Creeps, but he was still good in this movie.
Something about his character. He was like a total jerk. He kept it like abandoning his kids, like dipping out on his ex-wife. He literally like followed this woman who he just met. He grabbed a 6-pack of beer and like took off with her for the weekend. And he kept like being handsy with all the women at the hospital.
And I will follow that up by saying the woman he went on this trip with, dad died like 3 days earlier, and she never acted any sort of sad about it, and everything was just fine. So that was a little weird. But it did seem like every time he did have to go do something and quote unquote abandon his kids or whatever, it was legitimate stuff. I mean, this
Defending him.
this evil yes, but this evil corporation killed somebody right in his hospital. He had to get to the bottom of this mystery and tried to explain it to his ex-wife, and she had no time for him. So in the beginning, he brought the kids back. I mean, apparently he was drunk, and then he had to go into the hospital, and she said something like, "Oh, doctoring and drinking." So that was a theme in both Halloween 2 and Halloween 3. So there's that.
Something interesting about it is that they were actually watching the movie Halloween in this movie. And so it was sort of meta, and, you know, in this universe, Halloween, the movie, existed.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely. I guess you could argue that it's in a different universe per se, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird to make a sequel to a movie and have that movie be in your new movie, but it's not really a sequel. So I don't know. Is there any explanation as to why this was even called a Halloween movie?
Yeah, the creators wanted to continue as an anthology, so it was just creepy stories that happened to take place on Halloween.
So they didn't all have to be about Michael Myers, but obviously everyone's like, Halloween, where's Michael Myers? So yeah, that makes sense.
It reminds me of the TV series Friday the 13th. It was things that cursed objects in this antique shop versus like, this is Jason. But, you know, that was, I think, the original intent of the Friday the 13th series, too, was to have things that happened on Friday the 13th. Each movie would be its own story, but people love Jason.
Yeah, I mean, once you get that successful niche, I think you got to keep running with it. I don't think it's wise to deviate like completely like they did in this movie from the pretty much the core of what the Halloween movies are. I thought I call them the creepy corporate hitman guys. They're like straight laced white dudes with like slick hair, and they're all in suits. I thought those guys were pretty creepy. Turns out they weren't actually humans. I think they're some sort of robots that have like yellow fluid or blood, but in the beginning they show those guys a lot. They kill people. One guy breaks into the hospital to kill that girl's dad. The So I apologize. I don't know anybody's name. The mustached doctor,
Chalice?
Chalice? Is that his first name or his last?
His last name.
Chalice chases him out of the hospital, and the CCHM, the creepy corporate hitman, gets into a car and just immediately lights himself on fire. So I don't know. It's just cool to see that kind of cold hitman style stuff. It just gives you a weird feeling.
So, you know the female like pathologist who's investigating like the dead body that got burned up and stuff?
Yes, yes.
That character did not exist in the movie. And then after they shot the movie, they're like, oh, he keeps talking to like somebody on the other end of the phone. We should probably make a character. Like, and let's do some reshoots where we actually shoot a person in that role. So they wrote this part for this woman, and she didn't exist in the first cut of the movie. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, she adds to the movie a little bit, kind of explaining that the CCHM who burned himself in the car, they couldn't find any human remains or anything. So, I mean, she definitely added to that side of the movie, but I don't know.
But you could probably tell that she was an afterthought, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like they kind of let on that they used to have some kind of relationship of some sorts. Well, the guy's touching and everybody.
Yeah, so who knows?
But yeah, so they apparently had some romantic relationship in the past, so that's how he's getting this favor of getting all this information about this case. I don't remember the context, but okay, I remember now. So the girl's dad gets killed, and she reads his calendar back about what he did every.
Oh, it's like Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah, so he reads the calendar back about what he did every day, and it's like October 20th, this 23rd that, and all I could think about was that he was lifting weights with Squee that night.
Yeah. This whole plot, like, it's about the Halloween masks, and like they have this medallion on the back from the Shamrock Company, and they're going to like melt all these kids' faces on Halloween night and then turn them into bugs. I mean, their skulls like emit all these bugs out. And it all comes back to witchcraft and Stonehenge, and it's kind of complicated, but it's also kind of simple. And what's the point? I don't know. It's all very complicated, but I did read that they named the town that they go to where this Shamrock Company is based. They named it after the town in Village of the Damned. So it was supposed to be sort of like these robot-like people, all following blindly. What do you think about the whole Stonehenge, witchcraft, all of that angle?
Yeah, the whole Stonehenge thing, I don't know. Like that stone really has power to go over a commercial and react with this patch that's on the back of a mask and make bugs come out. I don't know.
The other problem was, like, the big reveal was that this commercial was going to play at 9 p.m. on Halloween night. And the movie took place in California, so that means it's midnight in New York. And so was this only a West Coast thing? Are the kids being allowed to stay up till midnight on the East Coast in order for them to get their brains fried? Like, I just feel like this wasn't thought out time zone wise.
That's just not smart. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand why. I think his name was Cochran, this evil Irish guy. wanted to kill all these kids.
Yeah, I mean, is it explained? If it is, I missed it because at a certain point I was just sort of tuned out. And I was really trying to give it the benefit of the doubt because I mean, I remember not hating it in my previous watches of this movie, but again, with expectation, it was built up because all of these articles were like, "This is the underappreciated horror movie of this generation." It's like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, I mean, at one point, Cochran explains to Chalice, Phallus, um, like he explains everything to him, which I just felt like,
Why wouldn't you just kill him?
yeah, instead of just killing him like it seemed to be killing other people, he tied him up and made him watch it and explain what he's trying to do, and it just, I don't know, didn't make sense. But I did think that they did a good job making that town of Santa Mira just super creepy. Just all the townspeople were like, I don't know if they were robots or if they were in on it or they were just so beaten down by this evil corporation running the town. There was a curfew every night and there was cameras everywhere. It just made for not a great place to take a vacation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they did set that up pretty well.
And there was a kind of a cool scene where Chalice goes out after curfew to buy some liquor, and he's in an alley and he runs into this like homeless guy, and they share a conversation and some liquor, and this homeless guy kind of tells him about the town and how it's all evil. And then when Chalice leaves, the creepy corporate hitman guys are waiting for the homeless guy, and they kill him.
Poor homeless man.
I guess I would say a lot of the people in the town are over the top bad actors. Like the people who are staying at the motel, that family, especially the dad. The dad is just over the top. I don't know if that's bad acting or bad directing or both, but
The actor and director are listening to this right now with tears rolling down their cheeks.
no, I apologize. I realize you're all human beings too, and you know, I take it back. I'm sorry.
No, but it's true. It's just not great. It's just not great.
No, and then the other lady who was there, I think, to buy some masks for her store, she was over the top too. So, I mean, I don't know. It was just a little bit corny for me.
I mean, and then the thing is, it's like there's only these 3 mask choices, and we know from having at least one, our daughter is super picky about what she wants to be for Halloween, and she changes her mind multiple times before Halloween. It's like you would not get your kids convinced to just do one of these 3 options.
Yeah, I agree. I guess you could argue that they're sending like subliminal messages in the creepy commercial they keep playing. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. That the commercial is very memorable. The song is good, and that's one thing I did enjoy. You know, it's just kind of gets the kids in there, and they're all excited, and I don't know, it creeped me out in a good way.
So, if you're not familiar, it's the London Bridge song, but with new lyrics. And the reason they chose it is because it's catchy and it was public domain.
Public domain is huge. I'll try to sing it really quick. 5 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 5 more days till Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
That's great, Mark. Everybody turned up their volume during that part.
Well, I apologize. I wanted people to know what we were talking about. One question I wrote down is, why would the creepy corporate hitman robot guys have to wear gloves if they don't have fingerprints?
Yeah, good point. I remember I was young. I was like in 1st or 2nd grade, and I was putting on my gloves sort of with purpose. And I remember a classmate saying like, "Are you going to murder me?" And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "That's how murderers put on their gloves." And so that kind of reminded me of that.
So I'm assuming this was before O.J. Simpson.
Yeah,
Okay, but yeah, OJ popularized gloves for murderers too, though.
true. But I guess, I mean, if you want to hide your fingerprints, you got to wear gloves. But good point. Robots don't have fingerprints.
Uh, yes, but wearing gloves makes them creepier. Another theme I've noticed in this movie and not a bunch of other older movies we've watched is that tons of white flashing lights everywhere that randomly flash equals high technology. So lots of these movies feature like rows and rows and rows of like white lights and that just blink and randomly go. So that's that was high tech back then.
Yeah, the old timey view of computers and technology was lots of blinking lights because computers used to be big and now, we're holding computers in our hands.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, what they thought was futuristic, they were way off. But anyway, I did think the yellow blood that came out of all the robots when they died was pretty cool and pretty creepy. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I like that visual, and it's not just typical or like black oil, which you might assume comes from like a machine. Like the yellow was a little upsetting.
Definitely, definitely. Another thing I thought was upsetting was, or just kind of a cool visual was when Chalice broke into the factory. Uh,
I should make sure his name is Chalice.
if his name is not Chalice, we have to re-record or edit over every time we said Chalice.
It'll be like Chalice.
Edwards. His name is Edwards. No, so when Chalice, I think his name is Chalice, breaks into the factory, there's a old lady sewing, which is super weird just in this dark room. And Chalice goes up to her and I think he like tried to talk to her, realized maybe she wasn't human, hopefully, and like grabbed her and her head fell off. So I just thought that was a cool just a cool creepy thing that you would see in this old factory is just this old lady sewing.
I like that too. It was cool. And I like when her head fell off and then you saw the mechanics of what was making her move.
Yeah, another thing I noticed is that Cochran looks a lot like Judge Smales from Caddyshack. I don't know if Kelly's familiar or not, but
I guess I've seen it like once now, but no, that means nothing to me.
so yeah, he's got the same like gray white hair that's like flipped up, and they both kind of look a lot alike. So I just thought that was kind of cool.
What else do you have to say about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really held this movie in high regard from when I watched it before. You know, the song was good. The I remember when Cochran shows what it'll do to that family and all those insects and all those cockroaches and snakes and all that are coming out. That I remember that just, but it just felt this time around like it was a bit much. Like
I forgot about the snakes, yeah.
yeah, it's like these huge like I don't know, not pythons, but like huge snakes coming out of this mask, and it's just like so that's your evil master plan is to have all these insects come out, and it just seemed like maybe it was more for the visual than an actual thing that would work in practice. I don't know.
Yeah, like I mean, and also like when the first mask like had a misfire or whatever and the woman's head got like lasered. It's like, "Oh, I thought the mask would kill everybody in the room and it would like kill all of humanity, but it was basically just melting these kids into bugs and snakes."
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Which saying that sentence out loud doesn't even make any sense.
Does not make sense. You got the Stonehenge stone, and they he makes a comment. Oh, you wouldn't believe how hard that thing was to get over here. So I mean, like what? But anyway,
I read that that was like Roger Ebert's big like problem with the movie. Well, he had a lot of problems with the movie, but saying like, "Do you know how difficult it would be to actually get a Stonehenge stone across the ocean?"
Without, well, yeah, but you got robots, so
Okay.
they can do anything. And then near the end of the movie, Chalice, there was this huge open room with all their equipment to do this broadcasting, and there's probably 50 people slash robots in the room, and somehow, and it's a pretty bright room. Somehow Chalice like crawled through this entire huge room completely undetected and like unplugged all their stuff and just screwed up all their stuff. And I don't know. I mean, it happens a lot in movies where like how can people be so unaware of what's going on? This guy would have been caught immediately. I don't know.
The nice thing about the ending, though, is that he's calling. I mean, I don't know who he calls to in order to get the commercial off of all of the stations simultaneously. I mean, at the FCC or something, but they get it off the two stations, and then the third station, he's like, "Get it off," and the movie ends, and we don't know if it actually came off or not. So, like, maybe humanity is dead. But the Halloween 4 has Michael Myers again, so whatever.
Yeah, I really felt like The Sopranos like kind of stole the ending from this movie. You don't know what happens, so I mean,
Spoiler alert.
oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, it would be very hard for one man to get that all off the air, especially in that day. So I have a feeling bad stuff happened.
So, if you haven't seen The Sopranos, in the end, Tony Soprano turns into a snake and bugs.
Why did you have to go out and say it? No, they know. Yeah, but the right before that was sort of cool how he got all those little patches, a huge box of them, crawled way up in the catwalk, somehow turned the commercial on, and then he just dumped those things on the robots, and they were just zapping them and killing them, and it was a really good way to kill all those robots.
If you ever need to kill a bunch of robots, there you go.
If you ever need to kill robots, get a bunch of patches that react to Stonehenge rocks when a certain commercial is played. Played said commercial, and then dump those things on the robots.
We need to rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being it's a perfect movie. What's our scale?
Man,
I mean, is it the little shamrock patch on the back of the mask?
sure, even though we don't know what that really is called.
Well, whatever. How many do you give Halloween 3?
I give Halloween 3 4 shamrock patches on the back of masks. I remembered it very fondly. It had some good things. I like the whole theme of the evil plot to kill all these people for no apparent reason. But just some of the dialogue, the acting, and I don't know, some of the reasoning in the thing just kind of left me scratching my head.
I'm also giving it a 4. 4 shamrock patches on the back of a mask. I think, I mean, I was going in trying not to hate it because I was like, okay, let's just take it as a standalone and its own horror movie. But it still wasn't great.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I remember him going up to that town, but I thought he came back and more stuff happened. But the movie pretty much, I don't know, just ended in the town, and it did leave you with that cliffhanger ending, though. So there's that.
The one redeeming factor in his arc is that he, instead of like calling the cops or the FCC right away, he did call his ex-wife and tell her not to let their kids wear the masks. So, he was looking out for his kids first before humanity. Is that a redeeming quality? I don't know.
I would say yes, but his ex-wife didn't believe him, thought he was jealous because he bought them different masks, and she would not. She refused to make the kids take the masks off.
Oh, and she thought he was drunk.
Well, if I called you talking about don't let the kids put the masks on during the commercial because they're gonna die, what would you think?
Yeah, but you know what? I would believe you because I've seen enough horror movies to think that that's real.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, Horror Rewind listeners, we hope that if you get joy out of this movie, go for it. And And if you want to rewatch it and find that you love it, that's great. I couldn't love it at this moment, but I think I still had fun watching it.
Yeah, I still enjoyed watching it and kind of reminiscing and seeing all the stuff I remembered, but there's a lot of stuff that I forgot that I'm glad I forgot.
Well, until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.